teacher was so shocked that she died. The police were called while McGee recovered from the taco attack. Rico might just have a chance of escaping.
One day, 16-year-old Rico Taco Nacho Quesadilla Mendilla Jones was going into his high school. He saw his crush.
Hey,
Oh, what a woman, he thought to himself as he walked in through the front doors.
he thought that he should probably walk up and talk to her, but he was too nervous.
So he decided to wait until homeroom class that he had with her.
Realizing the themes on the walls of Valentine's Day, he panicked, trying to scour his inventory for something to give to her, as to show his love and affection.
Not seeing anything convenient immediately, he searched in his pockets and found a candy wrapper and a packet of gum. This'll have to do, he thought to himself, approaching her.
So he wrapped the gum in the candy wrapper, nervous about handing the gift to his beautiful crush, John Damon.
Oh, this is not enough, he thought to himself. I have to create some way of presenting this to my girl. He pondered and pondered, trying to find something witty to introduce his product and have her accept his love and affection.
Hey, he said, walking over to her. Are you a tractor? What? What? She said, confused. Because you're attractive. He nervously laughed.
She gave a weary smile and then turned and walked towards her friends.
I blew it, he thought to himself, quickly rushing back to his desk.
He sat down and cried in the middle of class. Her friends all pointed and laughed, and he was very sad. But then,
One of his friends walked over
excuse
to
you?
him and asked,
He called up the only person he knew could help him in this situation, John Cena.
John Cena arrived and asked him, "Which one is it?" He pointed at his crush. "Oh, wow," he said, "Tits McGee."
You should just do it. And he saw John Cena pull off the mask to reveal Shia LaBeouf.
All of a sudden, the classroom blew up and it turned out to be a concert. Shia LaBeouf was singing the Just Do It song and dancing with the real John Cena.
He looked down to see that he was grinding on his crush.
Not knowing what to do in this awkwardness, he cried even more.
Worst Halloween ever, he thought.
Then he woke up to the smell of his mother's cooking. He walked downstairs and saw that at his kitchen table was John Damon, his crush.
He was
He turned the
slightly,
corner.
excuse you. He was slightly
Sorry, go on.
disappointed that it wasn't a tuna casserole, but got over it quickly. What are you doing here, John Damon?
Just here to help your mom with the groceries. We're in a club. She's the sponsor.
He looked at her confused. Then she laughed. Haha, I'm kidding. I'm here because your mom invited me over for breakfast. His mom rounded the corner and devilishly smiled at her son.
John.
Cena!
God, this is so difficult. Why is this so difficult? Young 16-year-old Rico Taco Nacho Quesadilla Mendilla Jones walked into his history class, unawares that he had a speech due that day.
How's it going, Teach? He said with a smirk, clearly ignorant of the tragedy that was about to befall him.
Oh, it's going fine, sonny boy, she said with contempt. She must have hated him, he thought. I'm always forgetting to do my homework.
It's not like it was his fault, though. He always did his homework, but the monster under his bed always took it.
What are you, what? What was that? What? Rico Taco Nacho Quesadilla Mendilla Jones walked into his history class unawares that he had a speech due that day.
How's it going, Teach? He said, clearly ignorant of the tragedy that was about to befall him.
It's going pretty well, young Rico, she said. Did you bring in your speech for today? She asked, slyly.
Oh no, he thought to himself. I forgot, but I can't let her know that.
Yeah, I did my speech, Teach. You know me, I always get it done.
The teacher eyed him suspiciously. This was not very much like Rico Taco Nacho Quesadilla Mendilla Jones at all.
So he nervously walked to his seat, trying to conceal his terror, for he needed an A to pass the class.
Other students gave their speeches, and all was fairly normal. But then it was his turn.
He was just sitting there, waiting for the person before him to finish their speech. It was a really hot girl. Tits mcgee, he thought. But then, when she was done, he was not so sly.
Come up to the front of the class, Rico Taco Nacho Quesadilla Mendilla Jones, said the old hag teacher.
Oh God, he thought, as he slowly walked up to the front of the class, no paper in hand.
And what is your speech called? The horrible teacher asked. Rico didn't know what to say.
My paper is it's called the 30 Years War. Yeah, that's good, he thought.
The teacher frowned. We learned about that last week. Why would you write a speech on it now? She asked accusingly.
A sweat beaded on his forehead. He looked around the classroom nervously, looking for things posted on the wall about what they had been learning.
A poster about peasants and loyalty to kings caught his eye. You see, he began, I was really just trying to make sure that the class was awake and paying attention, but you ruined it, Senor Teacher.
Oh, I'm very sorry, she said. And then he tried to think of his next line for the speech.
He cleared his throat. The title of this speech is actually called... He hesitated, looking around the room for more clues as to what they had been learning about recently.
Loyalty to the kings of France, he said confidently, or at least what he thought was confidently.
He thought he was doing great. The speech was going pretty well, and he had spoken for about 2 minutes when he noticed that his crush was looking at him funnily.
His voice cracked when he saw her looking at him. His face turned red with embarrassment, but then he continued on, trying to BS his way through this speech.
You see, back in the day, people in France weren't that loyal, and the traveling singer, Wanye, the traveling singer Wanye Best wrote a song called "These Peons Ain't Loyal," revolutionizing music in the 19th century.
He looked over at his teacher, who was scouring the textbook to see if he was correct. Oh crap, he thought to himself. And then, he said, Hitler killed the Jews.
The class did what was required by the school and had a moment of silence for all those killed. After it was over, the teacher began looking back through the textbook. Rico, Taco, Nacho, Quasedilla, Mendilla Jones wondered how much longer he needed to go before he could abruptly end his speech.
You know, he said to the class, what I think is that 9/11 was a conspiracy by France. And that is what my speech is really about.
Anyone who previously wasn't listening in the class now was. He had captured their attention like that. Go on, said the teacher. Suspicious that Rico's real name might be George W. Bush.
He said to the class, well, you know, since the French were not loyal to their kings, and we basically ruled them, we were their kings. So they did 9/11 because they were not loyal to us, their leaders.
The teacher was furiously scrolling through the 19.5 pages of attendance, trying to find the real name of Rico, Taco, Nacho, Quasedilla, Mendilla Jones.
Sweat beaded from his brow. She might be onto him, he thought. I must finish this up. And so that concludes my point, he said. And he rushed quickly to his seat, right by his crush.
The class gave the mandatory applause. And Rico, Taco, Nacho, Quasedilla, Mendilla Jones felt relieved momentarily. But then the teacher spoke up. Hey, Rico.
What? Rico, your real name is George. George B. Now, can you tell me your last name, boy? She said furiously.
He got nervous and sweaty already. He said, McGee?
My name is Tits McGee. The class erupted with laughter, and all stood up, applauding him.
The teacher was confused. I bet that's not his real name.
Rico assured her that it was.
She said, looking at the attendance sheets and back at him like an Old Spice commercial.
Then, with all the commotion, he slipped out of the classroom before the teacher could find his true identity.
In the hallway, he was confronted by the real McGee. Heard you were stealing my name. She said with an
He pushed up his glasses
air of
and
accusation.
flicked. She pushed up her glasses and flicked her
eyeball.
overalls.
What are you talking about? He replied nervously.
He was very afraid her body was 90% breast. She replied, "Oh, I bet you were stealing my name, weren't you, you little twat?"
Rico just froze in place. What could he do to escape? He glanced around and knew what he had to do.
He dodged to the left as the first swing of her breast came, and then he rolled forward, dodging another blow.
He wasn't going to let her get the breast of him. So he kept on his dodging.
He sprinted for the door. He heard the boom, 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 boom of her breasts behind him.
He ran faster and faster. He knew he couldn't outrun her forever. He had to think fast.
When he reached the door, he pulled on the handle. "Tits locked," he said.
He rammed his shoulder against the door, hoping it would give way. But McGee was gaining on him.
He decided he was going to have to try another exit, so he sprinted up the stairs on his right.
On the way up, he ran into his teacher, Senora Ogre. What do you think you're doing? Rico Taco Nacho Quasedilla Mendilla Jones.
He stopped and looked behind him. Tits McGee closing in, the teacher in front of him. He was trapped. He looked to his left and looked to his right, and saw something of promise.
It was a taco from Taco Bell. But what was he going to do with this? He picked it up quickly and threw it at McGee.
Then, as she fell down, he jumped over her, kicking her in the face as he went. Then he made a break for the door again, trying with all his might to bust through.
The teacher was so shocked that she died. The police were called while McGee recovered from the taco attack. Rico might just have a chance of escaping.
The police came and unlocked the doors. He rushed out, but one of the police grabbed him as Tits McGee ran towards him. "No," he said, "she'll kill us all."
She ran into him at full speed. He was knocked back in the air and hit his head on the wall, getting a concussion.
When he awoke, he looked around. It was dark. All the policemen had been pummeled to death. He looked around for Tits. Couldn't find them anywhere.
He got up nervously. What was he going to do? She knew where he lived. He could not outrun her forever.
But then an answer to his question arrived. Turned around to see Tits McGee standing on the top of the roof. She said, "Oh, I'm gonna get ya for stealing my name now."
Oh no! Said, recoiling in fear. She jumped down on him, but it turned out to just be more falling since most. Take it away.
When she fell, she bounced. As she neared closer to him, she kept bouncing, bouncing and bouncing closer and closer as Rico moved backwards, running away from the ball of tits.
mcgee. I'm gonna get you, she kept saying in a creepy voice that was strangely reminiscent of his mother.
He turned around to see that Tits McGee looked just like his parents. Wait, he thought to himself. No, it couldn't be. But his thoughts were interrupted because Tits McGee had thrown her glasses straight at him, hitting him directly in the forehead. He fell to the ground, bleeding.
In that moment, he began hallucinating and woke up thinking that he was in his mother's kitchen eating a tuna casserole.
But in reality, he was in the basement of Tits McGee's house. She sat in front of him. All he could see was a breast now. They had grown larger and larger, consuming the woman until nothing was left but breast.
Rico, still in his half-conscious state, tried to reach out and eat the tuna casserole that he thought was in front of him.
But in reality, he was only grabbing Tits McGee. She thought him a perv. Men always rape women. Feminazis are the only heroes in this world, she screamed, but her face could not be seen. Only breast.
Rico was brought back to reality by the chiding of a website on the internet. 4chan had come to save the day. They threw nasty comments at McGee, making her feel bad about herself and refuting her arguments. He was going to make it.
Triggered, she cried. Triggered, she cried. Triggered! But 4chan pressed on, harder than before. I may just have a chance to get out of here, he thought, as his bindings began to loosen at 4chan's attacks.
Patriarchy, McGee screamed. Rico broke loose and punched her in the face. 4chan cheered.
And then 4chan's archenemy appeared. Tumblr.
Tumblr tried to defend McGee, saying that she was in fact being oppressed. But 4chan pressed on.
Men are pigs, said Tumblr and McGee.
Rico began to run, as the two forces of good and evil began fighting to the point that he knew neither of them would survive in the end. They would use up all of their energy and combust. And so they did.
He felt the tension building as they exploded into the air, killing Tits McGee instantly, throwing him against the wall of the basement. And then he awoke, rubbing his head. He was in his bed. Man, he thought to himself, I gotta stop eating tuna casserole before I go to sleep.